Welcome back to another episode of Endurance Icons, where we sit down with individuals crushing it in the wide world of endurance sports. And we have another awesome guest back with us today for our Kona preview episode. One of our favorite guests we've had and one of our most listened to episodes. People love this one. We got two-time now Ironman pro champion Alice Alberts back. How are you doing, Alice?
Woohoo! I'm so good. I was so pumped when you asked me to come and just kind of like geek out on Kona for like an hour. I was like, absolutely, I'll be there. Do I follow triathlon? Of course I do. I'm obsessed with all these women. So I'm just pumped to chat about everything that they're going to go do.
Yeah, yours is such an interesting one because you qualified for Kona, but you're not going. So I felt like you were kind of the perfect guest to have here of like, you can still weigh in on it, but you're not like in the race where people don't like to always speculate on that.
Yeah, for sure. It'll be an interesting one to talk about, just knowing like I could have been there. So kind of where I would have seen myself, but also, you know, just knowing that these women are like the best in the world. And I would be watching regardless of whether I could have been there or not. So excited for it.
Amazing. We can't gloss over that you just got your second Ironman pro victory, which I was lucky enough to see in person, watching you majestically roll around that Maryland course for the win. So maybe did anything change? Like, how did your recovery from Placid to Maryland go? Because that was probably only like 2 months between the two.
Yeah,
And did you change anything in the prep?
yeah, so you're right. I think it was about 8 weeks. And honestly, I took 2 weeks super chill after it. I took like a 2 week mini mid-season break. The first week after I just did like really, really chill movement. And then the second week after I actually went on a family vacation, where I like snuck in workouts where I could. And honestly, I think that was just really good for me mentally, just kind of having a reset because it was such like a huge win for me having it be my first Ironman win. It was kind of like truthfully a bit of a shock and just having it like settle in a little and taking that time. And then, changing anything, not really. Like the 6 weeks that I did have then back to training, I really did mostly a lot of like aerobic work. I wasn't doing too much strenuous stuff, the occasional hard bike workout just to make Ironman power feel that much easier. But yeah, nothing too big of a change except for like relaxing a little after, honestly.
And one of the things that you talked about in your episode with us is talking about, even though you were a pro and even though you won a race, that you had a little bit of imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Has winning your second Ironman done anything for that?
Yeah, it's so funny you mentioned that. I thought you might. A little potentially. I think what is coming with each race is definitely a little bit more belief in myself. And I was saying that to you guys right before we got started. Like, my run was better in Maryland than it even was in Lake Placid, than it was in Texas. Like each race, I think I just believe in myself a little bit more. And I just know I can hold this pace. Like I should be able to do this. And I think having that is definitely been beneficial and has changed, but the imposter syndrome's still there, like I still line up and I'm like, wow, these women are so good. Like it's like pretty cool to be here. And I think it's important for that to sort of always be there, but at the same time too, yeah, believe in yourself. So we're coming around. It's not as powerful, but I almost always want it to be there. I never want to have that go away. I think it motivates me.
And in Maryland, the race played out a little bit different than Placid for you. Well, we had the shortened swim.
Yes.
So down to
I got my
950
sub hour.
meters. Boom, finally, lock it up. But yeah, it's very short swim. And then I think you rode with people on the bike the whole time. So tell us maybe just a quick rundown of how the day played out, because it was a little different than Placid.
Yeah, it was totally different. I caught the leading women. There were 3 ahead of me by mile like 35. And was just kind of like holding my power I knew I could do, and then was able to get up to them. And then it was like a totally new experience for me dealing with being in a pack and understanding how it worked. So even with like the 12 meter, and I did 20 because I'm like the most paranoid bike rider ever. You still get that draft. Like you really do feel it. It's amazing how much my power truly went down when I was at the back. So I think I lasted about 10 miles at the back and was like, oh my God, I'm so bored. So I went to the front and pulled until we got to special needs. And then I took special needs and no one else did. So then I had to work another like 15, 20 miles catching the pack again. And that time when I caught him, I was like, I'm staying back here. Like I want my legs to be fresh.
Mhm.
But just a totally different dynamic. And the biggest thing for me was being able to stay so mentally engaged because, you know, you're dealing with them being in front of you or behind, like you're ahead of them and you're pulling everyone. Or I, like in my case, was chasing them and then having to chase them again. So there was never that like moment I've had in other races where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm at mile 90. Like I'm kind of losing it. You know, I didn't really have that. So that was
That's where I was in Maryland.
yeah, we've all been there, right? Like I've had it every race until this one, and I'm sure I'll have it at future races, but it definitely kept me engaged and focused, which was fun, honestly.
What was the power difference between when you were in the front versus the back?
It's crazy. It was like 30 watts the
Wow.
first time that I caught, and then the second time maybe more like 20-ish, 15, and like at the end, like mile 90 to about 112, I was pushing the power that like I would have regardless of being at the back and kind of losing honestly at times. Mel McQuaid was ahead of me, kind of almost losing her at times, but like knowing I had to keep her there mostly for my mental engagement. So yeah, those 10 miles where I was at the back before I got bored and went to the front, it was like 20 to 30 watts. It was crazy.
So would you, looking back, it's you won the race, but it's
Yeah.
like easy to not look back at some things you could have improved. Would you take bike personal needs in the future, or would you not do that risk, just out of curiosity?
No, it's a good question because we're working on it for Florida. I have another race in 5 weeks. I'm gonna try not to take it in Florida. I'm gonna put it there and kind of see how I'm feeling. But so I had a long ride yesterday and I practiced what will happen. Like I practiced Gatorade the second half of my ride just to kind of like see how I did nutrition wise. But yeah, if I was to do it again, I wouldn't take it. Like I had to work hard, right, to catch the group again. And ideally you don't do that. So
Totally. I guess if you can get in the same nutrition in the end, but not have to expend extra energy or be able to sit at that back of the pack more and save some more for the run. Yeah, definitely
yeah.
important. So how did
Yeah.
the run play out? You got off kind of with that front group, and how did it play out from there?
Yeah. So I got off third. I had Chloe Lane and Mel McQuaid ahead of me, and we were all in the change tent together. And I just kind of said to myself, I'm going to go out real hard and kind of, I guess, like put it to them. It sounds so aggressive putting it that way, but really that was my mindset. And just try to build a big gap early. You know, with try rating, which I love, you can look at predicted times. And so I had memorized everyone's predicted marathon time that I was racing. So
I love
I
it.
knew the expected for both Mel and Chloe getting into the tent, and I kind of knew what I was capable of. So it's like, okay, I can do this. I just need to be strong and yeah, believe in myself with the kind of race I can run. So yeah, I went out hard and I felt great, to be honest. Felt better than I did in Placid. And maybe that had something to do with the flat course versus the hilly one. But yes, it just went out and it was really cool after like 4 miles to hear I had a 2-minute lead. So I knew I was gaining like 30 seconds a mile and kind of told myself I would just hold that pace through at least 13. And then by that point, I was being told I had like 5 to 6 minutes. So I was like, all right, I think we're good. And I felt good. So I felt pretty crummy by mile 20. I kind of hit a little bit of a low, but who doesn't? And I knew I could hold the pace. So it was fun.
Nice. Yeah, that was cool to watch. Just watch you go by each loop and just leading by so much. And you were like, I love that you're leading a pro race yet. You like gave me cheers on the
I
way
was
by. I'm like,
so
oh, this is the
psyched to
best.
see you every time. I was like, let's go.
Oh, I was in a dark place. Let's pretend that day didn't happen. It happened for you. Didn't happen for me. So Florida coming up in a couple weeks. Anything you're changing other than maybe that bike personal needs? What does the next couple weeks look like for you? Because I guess it's another kind of similar gap from Placid that you did
Yeah.
from Maryland into Florida.
Yeah. Similar gap because I'm not taking a mid-season break. Um, yeah, just changing my bike social needs, like I said, and not much else. I'm going to focus on doing a lot more Ironman efforts, I think, during this build compared to what I did before between Placid and Maryland. But really just kind of trying to stay like healthy and fresh, right? This is my 4th Ironman of my season, and I've never done that many in a season. So my body's feeling good and kind of want to just make sure it stays that way. Yeah.
Nice, exciting. And you're going to Nice next year.
Yeah, I took
That'll be
my
exciting
spot.
training for that.
Yeah, I'm really embarrassed to admit that like when I signed up for Maryland and even like after I won and whatnot, I never thought like, oh my gosh, I just got my world champ slot. And then someone said it to me and I was like, what? That's amazing.
Oh,
So maybe naive there, feeling a little silly about that. But yeah, I took it and I'm psyched. Like I love hills. Obviously need to practice descending, but that'll be exciting. It might change up my 2024 season more than I thought it would, but we'll see.
like early thoughts are you going to try and like go there and recon the course a bunch before, like just look
Yeah.
for similar options here? I guess it's hard to find anywhere in the US anything similar to that.
Yeah, from what I've heard from pros, male pros who raced it this year, like there's nothing similar in the US. So I might really try to do like a Euro training camp, which
Yes.
sounds bomb. I'll take
I was
it.
Yeah.
gonna say, wow, rough life,
Go ahead
Alice.
to Elevation in Font Romeu and then do some
Yeah,
Nice
yeah.
camp.
I've,
Holy.
I've had so many friends be like, do you need company?
I'll hand you water bottles when
Yeah,
you train,
yeah.
Gatorade for the second half.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'll be your
that's
station.
that's so cool. What a cool setup for next year.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I hope.
Well, speaking of world champs, we
I
have Kona coming
know.
up in a few weeks. This is super exciting.
Woo.
So for this part of it, wanted to talk to both of you as coaches and just walk through a few things because Kona is the course itself isn't necessarily difficult, but the conditions make it really, really tricky. And so I would love to know in terms of like heat preparation going into the race, what are some of the things that you recommend for your athletes?
Yeah, so I guess I can go first. I do a lot of my personal training off heart rate, and I have a lot of my athletes do it off heart rate. And, thankfully it's just been summer. So a lot of my athletes are in the South. And so just like really practicing gauging your effort and keeping your heart rate controlled through your longer efforts as best as you can so that you're prepared for the Kona heat. I mean, everyone says there's nothing that can really prepare you for it with
Yeah.
the humidity and such, but just like understanding that it's going to be a longer day out there for sure. So keeping that effort at bay. And then like random heat protocol stuff. I'm interested to hear actually what you guys do here, but like sauna, doing short little rides without a fan. I never have my athletes do like long rides without a fan. That feels like too depleting, right? It can ruin like the next day's training, but short little easy rides just to like get that feel for kind of being miserable.
Yeah, I've been giving Jess the torture on that. So yeah, like I give her 45-minute like really bad heat rides where we like layer up and do the really hot ones, like low intensity. And then recently in the last couple of weeks, I've given them a couple where it's like more of a moderate intensity ride where they're not layered up, but it's just like no fan. So it's a little bit hotter.
Yeah.
But the effort's still moderate, maybe a bit longer, but they definitely built into that. But I've had some nice heat torture rides for them because we don't have access to like a sauna. She'll do like hot tubs or like a hot bath after some of the like tougher sessions and stuff like that. But yeah, the heat torture's been on.
It is torture.
And what do you both do? Well, I know what you do, but you can speak to it for the mindset around the heat, because it's so often when you go into an Ironman race, you look at the times that you're capable of, but you really need to take in the conditions when you set goals for Kona. So how
more
do you
pacing over mindset, do you mean? Or
a little bit of both, like because I find that sometimes mindset when you go into an Ironman, your goals are so centered around the time that you do. And I think that there needs to be that adjustment of expectations going into Kona.
Yes.
So how do you support that? And then also just general mindset around Kona?
Yeah, I mean, my athletes could probably attest to this. I'm super annoying about not necessarily setting pace or time goals for all Ironmans. I very much make them do like little, I don't know the word to use, but like on the bike, I want to hit this power, but my real goal is just to like nail my nutrition. So
Mhm.
it's not like I want to bike a 5:30. I just think that's so huge for keeping yourself sort of like motivated throughout it. Or like on the run, I want to keep my cadence at like 170 because it's so easy for that to fall off during an Ironman marathon. And I think that
Mhm.
you have more control over that sort of goal than you do say, I'm going to run a 7:30 pace. And then you get out there and you're running 8:15 and you're like, what the heck? So
Mhm.
that's another reason I do the heart rate stuff, right? Because like
Yeah.
that's a little more controllable too. Mindset, I mean, I don't even know. The day's going to be hard.
Yeah.
So just knowing that that's going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard it's a shock when you just get off the plane the first time and it's just like
Yeah.
a dryer in your face essentially.
Like a
So I feel
wave.
like that'll be the mindset for people right away. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's again, like you're saying, just adjusting the expectations to one like that and adjusting your pacing targets and stuff accordingly. If it's going to be crazy hot, I've read like a bunch of articles and stuff where people are like on the bike, you almost need to adjust a lot of your stuff by somewhere close to 10% just because of the
Yeah.
heat and like what toll that takes. And on the run, it could be upwards to 20% in terms of like a pace you'd hold in like a cooler event. So like, yeah, I think managing that. And I love some of your tips there, Alice, around like, yeah, just focus on the things you can. The winds and the heat are going to be
Yeah.
what they are that day. So like, you don't have control of that. Control what you can.
Right. And just remember that everyone around you is dealing with it too. I think like
Mhm.
Mhm.
that one's so, so key for athletes because they can be like, oh my gosh, I'm not meeting what I expected to be able to do. And it's like, well, the person you're competing against might not be either. So take 10% away from both of you when you're landing in the same spot. So
Yeah, how many crazy like videos have you seen or stories from Kona of people just like collapsing so close to the finish line? And it's probably because they just like they physically probably could have got there, but they just
yeah.
mentally break and then suddenly you like lose your spot and then physically you just are out of touch. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So I guess knowing that that can happen is
Yeah.
going to help
And
mentally.
never getting complacent, I think, is going to be so important there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or taking it for granted because also in a normal course of an Ironman, you feeling good will go be a roller coaster. If you
100%.
feel good, you probably won't feel good for long, but if you feel terrible, you won't feel terrible forever either.
Right.
So you both mentioned short trainer rides with heat. Is there anything else that you do specifically around training for Kona for your athletes?
Ooh. I mean, nutrition, right? Nail that. Make sure you've got your sodium per hour sort of down pat. And then even add to it a little because you can think that you've got it. And then, like we've been talking about, the humidity. So just making sure that that's really, really dialed as best you can, right? Because the conditions are going to be hard, but practice that. I can't think of much else.
Yeah, I
Like,
feel like that it can always be interesting. Like the heat can be tougher on kind of the gut in terms of like absorption of fuel, I find with
mm,
my athletes and myself. So just like maybe you look a little bit at some opportunities to separate some of those like high carb and sodium mixed drinks where maybe you could
yeah,
do that in some cooler conditions, maybe separating the carbs out and having the pure sodium drinks can sometimes be a bit of a better tactic versus having the very heavy carb and sodium combos.
yeah,
Just
interesting.
something
Yeah,
that I've found to be somewhat successful in the past, just in the really hot races. So
right.
interesting way to sometimes look at that too. And like, man, winds are going to be crazy on that race. Like some years they're not bad, but yeah, winds could be a huge factor on that, jarring you around.
Yeah,
You're
they
going to
talk.
have a blast.
You're like, oh, it's the gut's gonna go off.
Yeah.
Hair dryer.
Jess, are
No,
you so pumped or
Are
what?
you so excited after this pump up talk?
no, I am so excited, but I honestly think that I'm going to have a great race because I'm going in with such a healthy respect for how difficult this course is because of all these factors. Like I'm not discounting all of the different things, like the fact that on the bike there could be big wind gusts. Okay, how do I overcome that? How do I prepare for that? But yeah, I mean, what do you tell your athletes to support with that wind? And maybe is there a way to increase aerodynamics? How do you adjust for that?
I
Yeah,
mean,
I
go
can
ahead.
go first. Yeah, I think one of the things, especially knowing that the conditions could be like that, is making sure you have a setup that is like comfortable for the winds, like first from like wheel depth. So like if you're afraid of the crosswinds, don't be riding your like double 80 combo, like going max with that new crazy head disc
Yeah, that
wheel
is
with the tiny little
crazy.
donut in the
Crazy.
middle.
Yeah.
Like know that you have a setup that is going to be like comfortable for you and stuff like that. So I think, yeah, just knowing you're not going to make any drastic like position changes at this point, but just knowing that you have a comfortable kind of wheel setup, that if there is some winds and you've practiced in that you're going to be comfortable in that.
Yeah, 100% agree. I was just going to say that basically the same thing, just be comfortable being outside. Like so many triathletes do so many trainer rides, which is totally fine. But I think with this sort of race, particularly, just being comfortable in your aero position outside is huge.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things I was thinking before Maryland is I did my like tune-up ride, and it was a very windy day.
Yes.
And I found I was just getting like really tense, and then suddenly everything, like all my adductors and everything, were getting like really like tight, and I was like, oh man, like I'm gonna be in trouble for the race. But I like brought that mindset to the race, and then I stayed super relaxed even in the winds, and then I didn't really have many of those issues till like really late in the bike. So I think that those practice rides and just like making sure you have those cues for when it gets windy is super important as well.
Yeah.
One story. So right before this, we recorded this like a check-in podcast of like where I'm at going into Kona.
Yeah. Is it out yet?
No, it's gonna
I was
come
like,
out
I get notifications
soon.
So the crazy thing is this, speaking of aerodynamics and bike, etc. So I was doing my long ride last Saturday, and all of a sudden I was like, my handlebars, not my aero bars. I'm like, is this
base bar? Yeah.
Base bar. I'm like, is the tape loose or something? And it was like it was like 185-kilometer long ride. And at the very end, all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, my base bar is moving. When I stopped, there is a total crack in the carbon, like all the way around. I have no idea where it came from.
I saw it on your Instagram story.
Yeah. Yes.
It's too strong. All that bulking for Kona.
Well, when you were
how
saying,
the heck did you do that?
I don't know. I have had like a lot of like rewiring of the Di2 lately because I got new aero bars. So I'm wondering if, I don't know, was it bumped?
Yeah.
Whatever. Anyways, it's sorted, but I'm so grateful that this happened before Kona because
seriously,
doing that at Kona, like doing that race, because I'm going to be tense to begin with, I'd probably crack it right off.
It's motivation to never get out of the aero bars in Kona. You're locked in.
Touch the base bar.
Don't care how steep the hill is, stay in aero.
Also, speaking of Instagram, so you are also one of my highlighted Instagram stories. So like, for anyone who's listening who doesn't follow Alice, like you will feel like her best friend when you follow her on Instagram. You're so personable, and I love how you bring in like real life into your stories. Like the other day, you woke up with a puffy face, so you showed that you have your little ice mask on.
Man face mask.
Yeah, it's super relatable and fun.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm trying to post a little more. That's definitely been like a change for me. I would like used to have a private account and had like 300 followers. And then when I made this career change, I was like, oh gosh, all right. Time to sort of like start sharing more of my life. And I actually really enjoy it at times. Like silly things I'll take a picture of and I'll be like, oh, I should probably share this. This is fun. So
well, and we love it. And like I said yesterday, you're kind of a big deal now. So
I saw that comment. I was like, I don't know about that, but
before we jump to race preview, we touched a little bit about adjusting your pacing, perhaps, but what is your counsel to your athletes as you go into Kona thinking about pacing?
Yeah. So like I said, pacing is something I actually don't love focusing on, whether that's like speed on the bike or, miles per hour on the run. So I do a lot of heart rate stuff. I do a lot of really zoning in on your perceived exertion and like understanding what your Ironman marathon effort should feel like. Yeah. And then just kind of knowing, this might not be the best advice, but like in my mind, an Ironman marathon is won by the person who slows down the least. So just like keep moving forward, because kind of everyone's slowing down, except for we'll talk about some of these incredible ladies. But just keep going. Try not to walk, because once you start walking, it's hard to get going.
Yeah. Part of the counsel that Mark is giving me for Kona is to walk through the 8 stations. I've never walked in an Ironman run before. So but like one thing that I'm thinking about is making sure that I'm getting enough salt, ice, like fluids. So it's that trade-off of walking for like 5 to 10 seconds versus slowing down over the long haul because I'm not taking on enough. I think it's a risk reward you need to map out.
Yeah, Mark, are you having all of your athletes do that?
Yeah, I'm pretty much going to build that into all of
Yeah.
their like plans. And then obviously if they somehow feel incredible in the last 5 or 10K, like fire away if you want.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Chelsea Sodaro do that last year. She literally like grabbed like a huge, you remember that? She grabbed like a huge water and was like dumping it on herself at one point, I thought, during the race. I thought I remembered seeing that, but
All right, to the spot we've all been waiting for here. Let's do some Kona preview here, chat through, nerd out on kind of how we see the race playing out, and we can finish off maybe with some hot take predictions and see maybe put some big money behind this. All that big money Alice has been taking
yeah,
home. She can throw.
like paying for my Airbnb and my
Yeah.
like car ride and flights. Yeah.
That'll be after your PTO wins next year. Then we can
Yeah,
talk
yeah,
the big bucks.
yeah.
All right. So let's talk a little bit. Maybe we can start on the swim because I think that could be interesting. We got some pretty good swimmers this year. Also, we've found out Taylor Knibb is
I
supposedly going to be there, which is
know.
very exciting. And I feel like she could be part of that front swim
Right.
pack. Alice, who do you kind of see in that front swim pack in the first bit, or is Lucy just going to leave everyone in her dust?
Yeah, right. So you like can't obviously count out Lucy. She's been first out of the water almost every year. But then you're right. Like Rebecca Clark last year was only I literally did research for this, was only 44 seconds down from Lucy.
Wow.
And then, Rachel Zelink, I can't say her last name.
Zelinskis.
Guess you guys or Mark, you raced with her, Mont Tremblant, but she's a terrific swimmer and was supposed to do Kona last year and then couldn't out of injury. But yeah, Taylor Knibb being in there, Fenella Langridge is such a good swimmer. Those are kind of Lauren Brandon is
Oh
there.
wow, this could
Those
be
are
a huge first women's pack. Like it's, I
yeah.
don't think has the year to be like where they could actually get away and put some time in. Wow.
Yeah, you wonder exactly. So with that many strong swimmers, does it like stretch out? I mean, like I said, Lucy was what 44 seconds up last year, so she was ahead, but we know that Taylor can kind of hold her feet. So you wonder if that then stretches it out, Laura Brandon. So yeah, it'll be a pretty strong first group. I
Yeah,
think that second group is what's really going to determine the race though.
yeah, that could be scary for the likes of like a Daniela, Annie, Chelsea, like knowing that there's a lot of firepower up there that probably wants to get
Yeah.
away. Cause like I'm sure Lucy wants to, like she probably doesn't want to swim solo. She knows Taylor. Maybe she can even work with Taylor on the bike. Like who knows?
Yeah, you really exactly. You wonder what her game plan would be there. I mean, I have no idea. Like, is she thinking go out super, super strong to try to get a head start? But then, like, no offense, what's the point of that? Because Taylor's so darn strong in the bike. Will she just catch you? Yeah, I haven't.
Maybe she wants that, like to get out there solo and then Taylor catch her and then try and like hop
Hold
on the
her
wheel or something. And
Yeah.
then she could literally get herself another second place or a win.
Yeah.
I think she's
Oh my
had
God,
enough of
she
those.
got second again. That would be your fifth, right? That's
Oh, I
insane.
know.
But let's not predict that. Let's not predict that. But yeah, truly Taylor joining the race is like completely sort of changed, I'm sure, race dynamic and plans for a lot of these women.
Yeah. It's going to be so interesting, like how everybody's coming into this year. Cause I think a lot of people have had some like crazy big years, Taylor being one of them, like
Yeah,
that
exactly.
Olympic prep plus like 70.3 worlds. Like she's done a lot. I actually kind of like that Lucy like had an injury earlier this year and she's probably coming in pretty fresh for this race.
Well, we don't like that she did, but
no, but like I like for this race that
Yeah.
she did, like she might have still some fight left in there.
Yeah, and
which
we
could
saw
be-
what she did last year coming off of an injury and what she was able to pull off with probably even less prep. So
yeah.
for sure. But yeah, I think that second group, if Kat can be in it, if Daniela can be in it, I don't know, other like key players like Laura Phillip. I actually really like her. I follow her on all socials and stuff, but she could have a strong swim. She's a total contender. Chelsea Sodaro obviously had a really good swim last year. I was looking at it. I forgot how far back she was, but she was in that second pack that was maybe only 3-ish minutes back. And I think that was huge for her like eventual win that day. So
Yeah, there's some serious bike run strength in that second pack, and I feel like
Yeah.
they're going to be scared and they're going to have to chase hard. The dynamic of this totally changes with Taylor in there.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. So
Yeah.
so maybe out of the swim, if maybe there's a front pack there, how do we see kind of the bike playing out there?
Gosh. I mean, I feel like I'm answering all of them. Just want to, I have thoughts.
You can go first. I'll give mine after.
um, I think that Daniela is probably a little peeved after 70.3 and sort of kind of pulling people along for a while. Well, I don't know if she was pulling them along, but like I listened to a few podcasts after, and even Paula Finlay was saying like you could tell she was looking back and getting a little frustrated. So I think she's gonna hammer down. And then I don't know her mindset here, but she kind of has a point to prove. Like Taylor is such a strong cyclist too, so who's the stronger cyclist over the 112 miles where we know Daniela can like be so strong. So I think that could be super interesting. Knowing that Taylor's going to get out of the water before Daniela. Does Daniela go crazy trying to catch
Hmm.
Taylor? I don't
And
know.
who did she bring with her on that quest?
Yes.
Like, can it be a
Yeah.
pack of 4 with like somebody like a Laura and Kat in there too, and then suddenly like
Exactly.
Annie sneaks on the back of that train or something? Because she's pretty strong on the bike these days now. Like you can't rule her out.
No, definitely not. And then you don't want that to happen because of her run.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And like, yeah, the unknown, like you mentioned about Taylor, like does she have, she mentioned she just put out a YouTube video, I think it was a day or so ago, talking about her Kona prep. And she said, like, I wasn't going to do anything crazy drastic leading up to
Yeah.
this. So like, does she have that like depth that she needs to hold strong when you have crosswinds in the last 40K, or do people start to claw back on her? Like we know her cycling is probably like head and shoulders above everyone right now
Yeah,
in there. But yeah, it's another story over 112.
And then
exactly. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Good point.
She's shown kind of cracks in the heat in the past too.
Yeah.
I just think back to that PTO US Open race where she had that huge lead over Ash and then she was walking. So like maybe there's some question marks on her heat prep there.
Oh, that's a good point. That was all Jess. I'm gonna like give you that one. That's so true.
Yeah.
About her.
Yeah. I think the bike could be very interesting though. With I think if they get a big pack together that they're gonna have to push hard if they want a chance at the win anyways, or maybe they're just at that point. I don't think any of those ladies want to play for second at any point. So
No, never. And like then you have to think about who, if they got that pack dynamic, is going to like put, I guess I was gonna say put money on, but trust their run to then be able to be the best run, right? Because there's a few women who could get in that pack and be like, this is what I want. And then kind of get that benefit of the draft, not draft, and run super strong. So that'll change.
yeah, very interesting on that. Yeah, I'm not sure how it's going to play coming off of that bike, but man, the run can be carnage on that race though. So what scenario do you kind of see coming off of the bike? Any guesses of like who's leading and if there's any big gaps, and what do those gaps look like?
You want me to answer it?
Yeah, I'll go first actually here. I'll lead the way
Okay.
on this one. My prediction is that Taylor is gonna lead off of the front and she's gonna get like, I feel like she's gonna grab like a good 8 or 10 minute lead on this. So I'm gonna call that she leads by 10 minutes off the bike, and that there's a second pack that comes together that has like a bunch of the heavy hitters, and I think it's gonna be like almost everybody else, like an Anne, Daniela, Lucy, Cat. I think they're all gonna like form almost a pack together and be like, okay, we can't let this gap get out too far. So maybe on that prediction, I might guess that they actually hold it pretty steady and work together to keep it to like 8, hoping that Taylor maybe doesn't have the depth on the run. And then yeah, that's how I kind of see the bike playing out. Anybody else with some different predictions?
I mean, when you
I'm
explain it, I'm like, yeah, that's so true. But at first I was like, 8 minutes. Whoa.
really, really excited to see Anne Haug's run. I think that I think we're going to see something special from her. I have my eye on Kat Matthews. I think she's teed up to do something really, really special.
She's shown really good form. Yeah, that 70.3 worlds. She was really strong on the run there.
And I think, yeah, like Daniela, I think I mean, she has 5 wins for a reason. I think going into Kona, it's such a special race. There's so many different variables that are different than a lot of like just a standard Ironman that it's hard to say. I was saying to Mark the other day, one of the things that makes me sad about racing is that I don't get to watch it. Like it is this, there is going to be such incredible racing. When you look at, like, I truthfully, I'm struggling with this because when you look at this lineup of women, like, holy smokes, it's incredible. What do you think?
Insane. I struggle to say what I think versus what I want.
Fair.
Like you guys know, I said it on when I was on there. Kat Matthews is one of my endurance icons. I just think she is the bomb. I think she's so cool. And I really want her to have a good race. And like she's so capable of it. And her run is so strong. So you wonder what like she's gonna pull off. But yeah, it's so hard to guess. And I think that's the fun of it. I sort of see Taylor coming off the bike first, but maybe not holding it, having all these strong runners chasing her down, which I think could be a really fun, exciting day. Not that Taylor's not a strong runner. We just, like we said, we don't know her depth. Like an Ironman run is so much different, right? You get to mile 18 to mile 20 and you're kind of like feeling the 112-mile bike. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's going to be spicy. Do we want to do some predictions here? Who we see with our
like overall?
Yeah, we'll do like our podium top 3.
Betting pride here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Who wants to lead the way? Jess?
No, I don't want to lead the way.
Okay, I can lead the way on this. Initially I wanted to pick Taylor for the win, but I'm just like afraid of that depth on the marathon. So I think I'm going to take Annie to get her second win. And then I see Kat with another second. And then I actually see Laura finally getting on the podium there with a third. I just feel like she's looks strong in her videos. And like, I think she has a good mindset going into it. She's done some good prep there. So I think she's somebody who's like very due to get on a podium there and hasn't yet. So that's my top 3 there.
Wow. That's a good 3.
That is a good 3.
Yeah, I can't. It's hard to rule Taylor out. Initially, my thought was I was gonna do that podium, but be like, if Taylor shows up, Taylor's gonna win, and if she doesn't, then here's the other 3. But I'm gonna take Taylor out of it. I've convinced myself through this episode to hack her out. I may live to regret that.
Yeah, I'm struggling with the first place. Like I keep swapping that out, but I'm actually gonna pick up Taylor for the win.
Okay.
Yeah. I think she's capable. I think she's coming in with a lot to prove and she knows it. And I think she does well with that. She doesn't let that crowd her judgment. We were watching the PTO documentary of her recently. And one thing that I loved is, you know, people are so complimentary of her training and how she's doing. And she just sort of like shoves it off and gets back to work.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to really serve her well. And I know it's a bit of a risk, but I'm going to say, I think she's going to win. I would go with Anne Haug for second, and I'll say Kat Matthews for third.
I think we're a big Kat Matthews fan group here.
I know.
How can you not like her? She's just so likable.
I know. And she too works really hard too. So
Yes,
they all work hard. That's why they're there.
Yeah,
but
it's true. It's true.
Okay, mine. I know Taylor's really put a wrench in sort of my original plans here, but I see Kat Matthews winning. I really do. I think she's gonna have a really strong bike and a strong run. I think that Taylor's gonna get second. I think she's gonna hold off a few of the other runners. And then probably Anne Haug getting third. I really want Laura Phillip to get that podium. I love that you put her there because I want her to be there, and I would have had her there if not for me putting Taylor in there now. And it's interesting that we've all sort of put Lucy off of it when she's such a strong athlete, obviously proven she's good in Kona with 4 second places. But I don't know, I just like so many strong runners there, and I think the dynamics are going to be so different with like a kind of pack of the bike that she might fall off on the marathon there, but don't count her out. I guess she's my little asterisk there. She
Yeah,
can
I feel like if things could play out well on the swim and for some reason she could somehow tag along in like a bike pack that gets a bit of a gap there, like I wouldn't rule Lucy out. Like she's shown she can run too. Like
Yeah.
that 70.3 worlds she won on that St. George course. I think she ran like 117, 118 there. Like I think she's still fresh, has a lot of fight this year. So I would love to see her eventually get a win here too. Like she's been chipping away at that, but yeah, she's got holy what a lineup this year. I feel like
Yeah.
every year we say it's like getting better and better, but this one I don't think I've ever seen like the top even like 12 in this race. They're like, yeah, anybody could be on this podium or win this thing. Like, wow.
Like I found it interesting that none of us said Chelsea either.
I was just
Yes.
gonna say that too. Yeah.
Because she just had an incredible race. And obviously she won in the past. So yeah.
Yeah, it's tough to like throw the past champion. None of us even put her on the podium just because she maybe hasn't had the best year, but maybe again it's like she didn't the year before either, but she brought it on the day that mattered. And does that like Sam Laidlow just did it? Why can't Chelsea do the same thing?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, wasn't Kona last year Chelsea's like second ever Ironman? So like
yeah.
we really can't count her out there. And I think that I don't know if she did it this year. Last year, I know she went to Kona and trained for a little. I feel like she did it a little this year too. So, we've been saying this beginning of this whole podcast, like the elements are so key. So I think she can handle it well. We saw that last year. So that is interesting. None of us put her.
I know.
And same thing with Daniela. No love for her either. Like
Oh gosh.
five-time
Okay.
champ and
I
the
know.
past champ. We didn't even put any of them in our podium. People are gonna roast us.
I know.
Yeah, I know. Okay. Maybe I'll change my mind in an hour.
Well, I know I will. But I have a question for both of you. Outside of like the obvious, and I can see it's hard for us to choose our top three because we keep going, well, yeah, but what about Chelsea? What about Daniela? Shoot, can I have more in my top three?
Yeah.
Who's your dark horse?
Ooh.
My dark horse, and I've actually thought about this, is Fenella Langridge.
Mhm.
She's a super strong swimmer. She's a very strong biker. I just think the run is what's kind of like put her under in past years. And by dark horse, I mean someone who we've like not even really mentioned during this whole time. I have one other, but I don't want to take it from you guys, so I'll let you choose yours.
Ooh. I wasn't ready for this dark horse question.
I know, I just threw it out. I'm
Let's see.
sorry.
I feel like I have somebody who's kind of up there. Like I feel like Sky has been waiting for a while to kind of chip away at a solid Kona result. So I could see her like breaking up a little bit of that like top 7, if you want to call it, of like the really heavy hitters. That I feel like she might be able to mix it up in there. She's just been kind of silent this year, and I feel like that might be she's been playing her cards for this one. So Sky Monch will be my dark horse.
And you just took mine.
Uh-huh.
But which one was yours, Alice?
My other one was Lisa Norden.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just because I think she had a pretty good result last year. And she's just like an overall, I mean, they're all overall strong, but she's a strong athlete. But I
Yeah.
really like your Sky one. I really look up to Sky. She did Arizona last year, which I did, and Sarah True just beat her out. And then she did what? Hamburg this year? Is that what she did?
I think so.
Or Germany?
Yeah, one of the Germany ones.
The European Championship. And
Was it Frankfurt or Hamburg? They had that one at one
not
of
gonna
the
remember.
two.
But Sarah True beat her there too. But
Yeah.
I know that from her socials, she was saying she wasn't even going to do an Ironman this year because she got her qualifying spot for Kona in November. But then I think just like got excited and did one. So I think that's a good sign for sort of her fitness, but also her mindset probably going into the race. She's probably like psyched to be doing another one, having like held her body off all year. So
Yeah. How do we see Sarah True doing? You mentioned her. So I was just looking here. She has 3 starts, but only 1 finish. I feel like she has some unfinished business on this island. Holy.
Yeah, for sure. She DNF'd last year, I remember, because then she went and did Arizona. So I'm sure she's excited.
Yeah, but just even like as you just continue to go down the list, there's so much firepower in like every discipline in there, whether it's like a Danielle Lewis who can like rip on the run, or like Haley Chura, great swimmer, a lot of good bikers in there. Like I feel like the these people could play a huge role in whatever the dynamics of this race are, from swim to even like Lisa Norden in those bike packs. Like,
Yep.
I think all of these ladies could get some serious screen time here and play a big role in whoever does end up sifting out on the podium in the end. It's going to be
I know.
exciting. Holy.
I know.
What do you think the dynamic on the island's going to be like? Like, no men, testosterone just buzzing around there? What
It's gonna be like the movie Barbie, really.
so, and I'm going to be Ken just buzzing around.
Gonna be like the movie Barbie. I mean, that was one of the things that actually made it really hard for me to decide not to go, just that it is all women's and it's gonna be like such a, I think, epic experience. But yeah, it's gonna be great.
As
You're
you've
going,
seen,
Mark, or you're gonna go, right?
oh yeah, I have to go. I got 6 ladies
Number
racing,
one
so
Sherpa.
yeah. No, she'll be fine. I'll be doing all the fun events and drinking beers on course with all the people supporting the race. So no Sherpa duties.
I'll
We'll
be
see.
chilling at the house trying to be ready.
Alice, a question for you. As you've seen kind of the men's happen in Nice this year and now women's happening in Kona, maybe you can't answer this until it happens. But how do you feel about them being like split? Has anything changed based on what you thought before, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know. That's a hard one because I like turned pro like right around when they made this decision, so I never really even thought about like the dynamics. I totally understand arguments to both, right? Like men being there affects the women's race. And you see that with some races, the top pro women catching some of the slower men. But then it is kind of nice having everyone together. There's so many from like an age grouper stance. I know there's a lot of age group couples that like racing together and like being there together. And so I don't know. I don't really feel like it's even my like whether I have a decision or not, it's not going to change what ends up happening.
Yeah.
But what do you guys think?
Yeah, I just, it feels weird that they're separated. I would like them to be kind of together on those back-to-back days. I think there's just something so cool about like the men cheering the women on, the women cheering the men on, and like that camaraderie of that it felt kind of weird to have the men's like separate and there was no ladies. I'd love that the ladies are going to get their own day and get the spotlight, but yeah, I would imagine for brands and stuff, it's got to be tough to bounce across the world. So I'd love to see them come back together.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you just said is key. Like having different days but same spot and like one day after another, I think would be the ideal.
Yeah, even if it's not Kona, like bounce it around a bit and go back to Kona every so often. Like 70.3 Worlds works for that. So like I just like them being together. So that's my take anyways.
I do think Ironman does agree with you. I think if they could do that, they would absolutely do that.
Well, I'm sure they could have done it in Nice if they really wanted to.
Yeah, or like St. George. I mean, I don't know these towns. I don't want to just like throw them out. But like there's a lot of towns that I would think would be fully supportive of it. And not just fully supportive, like have the infrastructure. I think that's a lot of what it comes down to. Yeah.
Yeah. Who knows? Time will tell. I guess they're committed to it for the next 4 years, but maybe the new CEO, whoever it is, if it's Jan Frodeno, maybe he'll overthrow it. That'd be amazing if he was the next CEO. Who do you guys want to see as the next one?
Actually a possibility?
No, probably not.
Mark is just making up things, spreading rumors.
Yes, rumors. This is how we go viral. Come on.
I know if there's a next like pro CEO of Ironman, we'll make it a woman.
Yeah. Like that.
Yeah.
Daniela, mic drop, wins Kona, finishes, retires, and is like, I'm the CEO at the finish line, announces it. Tell me that's would be an epic exit.
You heard it here.
Mic drop ever.
Okay, I clearly live in a Barbie fantasy world here. But hey, let's roll with it.
I feel like Haley Chura will fit right in and she'll appreciate that comment with her Barbie kit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I love her kit. It's so vibrant and noticeable.
Just like her.
Yeah.
Amazing. Let's wrap it up there. We'll get those predictions all posted up and some cool pictures and we'll see how they pan out. That's all right. I don't remember them either. We'll pan them out from the episode and we'll see how it works out. But Alice, thanks so much for joining us and speculating on triathlon. It was great to catch up with you and go crush it in Florida. We're pumped to watch.
I mean, go crush it in Kona, Jess, first off.
Yes, I plan to.
Right.
Inspired by your performances this year.
Wow, how great was that? I always learned so much from these endurance icons. If you enjoyed the podcast as well, please consider liking us across social media, subscribing to us on YouTube, or giving us a 5-star rating on wherever you listen to your podcasts. We appreciate you and your support so much. We wish you happy training, and we'll see you back next week.